Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Freeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Hello everybody and welcome to Sebring International Raceway for round number 5 of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship, live of course here on Apex Racing TV. Happy that you can be joining us here on this Wednesday evening at one of the best circuits in America in my personal opinion. My name is Dane Baird. I've got Marco Barbanera alongside me doing double duty. It's the Dane and Marco show tonight. He's on commentary and production, monitoring the stream and giving us some fantastic pictures from the racetrack as well. Marco, we've had some fantastic racing in the first couple of rounds of the season. Specifically, last time out at Spa-Francorchamps was some of the best racing I've seen on iRacing in a long time. What are you expecting here from Sebring? More of the same?
More of the same, absolutely, and this is, I think, one of the best tracks, if not the best track that you can race on iRacing. I mean, also you forgot to introduce me as former Sebring 12-hour stand split winner on iRacing, but you know, I'll give you a pass on that. And I'm not saying that randomly. I'm saying that with there is a reason to that, and we will see the reason in just a second.
Absolutely. So we have some lovely B-roll footage of Sebring International Raceway, but it's kind of useless in this scenario because, well, if we had B-roll footage at this time, it would just be black. We are racing in the dead of night. The drivers are going to have to make use of the headlights on the front of the Radicals, and it makes it all just that little bit more difficult if driving the Radical around Sebring wasn't difficult enough as it is, with all the bumps and the Radical not being the easiest car to wheel around a circuit to begin with. Sebring does have a very interesting feature though, Marco. It's got the cat's eyes all around the circuit, which they're pretty cool. I think it's the only circuit that I know of that has that. I know Le Mans has it inside of the barriers on the Mulsanne straight and the straight directly after that, but I don't think any other circuit has those cat's eyes anyway.
And it gives it that, you know, airplane corridor kind of feeling, which is of course apt because this place used to be an airport, and yeah, it's quite I would say hypnotic at night. You don't race a long time at night around here during the 12-hour race, but it's still enough to warrant a change of you know, of scenery. That's very big, and as you were saying, not a lot of lights around. The majority of the lighting, it's basically, of course, apart from the start finish line, which we are watching right now, it's the tracks, not the tracks, I would say the vans, the bonfires around the racetrack, and which was, by the way, interestingly enough, something that the drivers were complaining about last year when they had Le Mans without the crowd, and the drivers were saying that it was darker than usual at night because they didn't have any of the campers, the tents, the fires that would give them a little bit of reassurance as they were driving through the night in Le Mans. And also it's two straight years that they don't lit up the Ferris wheel at Le Mans, which makes me very, very sad.
I didn't even notice that when I was watching Le Mans this year, but that is quite sad, actually. And alright, let's have a look at some championship standings then, shall we? It's closing in at the top. It was a lot more of a lead for Kike Ming in first position. He has retained that first position, but he didn't have the best of rounds at Spa last time out. Arturas Kundelis has closed in, as has Brad Philpott, who had a fantastic round. I believe he came second in both races, or potentially third in one of them, but definitely up on the podium and almost won both races in that Spa round. So a great points for him. He should have more points, but the problem is he didn't do round number 1. So he has a bit of a catch-up game to play here in the championship. Only 2 rounds to go, so it is really crunch time in the championship. Of course, it's a 6-round championship. We are at round 5, so here at Sebring, and then round 6, the finale at Imola next week. Championship standings in the AM category: Graham Brown in first position with 265 points, and then around about 40 points behind him is Thomas Seabass in second place. Kev Copeland is only 5 points back from Thomas, so a bit of a battle there for the final couple of podium spots in that championship. And then of course you can go 11 points back and reach Marco Tolman in 4th, so it's very close, just outside of that top spot. Well, we saw a very close qualifying at Spa-Francorchamps, Marco. We had drivers separated by almost nothing in that. It's a little bit more open here, and it's a familiar face up at the top.
It is Kike Ming leading the way. You can see him, of course, navigating through this open qualifying session. And today with the 1-hour race, of course, if you can secure yourself a spot towards the front of the field, it is great, because all the points are on the table in this one race. Remember, there is a mandatory pit stop to be had. We know that these cars are notoriously tough to drive. They are also very easy to spin, and let's be honest, Dane, these bumps are tough always, but with the Radical I have this feeling they are going to be even more of a problem, given how little this car likes to be put in. It's already unstable without the bumps, let's put it this way. So today is going to be, and of course you have the night racing, so extra element. And we are reaching now Sunset Bend, and you will see on board with Kike Ming, you will appreciate, look at the helmet moving, and look at the way the car will bounce. It is incredible how bumpy this place is. Look at that. I mean, I'm expecting to see some look, did you hear him? He was fighting with the throttle and the steering wheel to stay put, and this is Kike Ming, one of the best drivers in the championship. That is going to be, as per usual, but even more so tonight, the toughest corner of the racetrack.
Well, he's just gone fastest again. Purple lap that time by 53.206. That's very impressive considering he had some traffic to contend with in the opening part of that lap. He made 2 overtakes at the start of that lap, so despite all of that, still putting it over 1/10 of a second on pole position. Beauchamp has just ended up on the front row of the grid provisionally. Beauchamp didn't have the best of runs at Spa, stuck it on pole position and then stuck it in the wall on the exit of Radion on the first lap. So not the greatest race weekend or race meeting. It's not a weekend, it's Wednesday for Beauchamp at Spa, but hoping to try and improve on that this time out. Let's see who we are currently riding on at the moment. Joseph Saul crossing the line. Where is that lap going to put Joseph Saul? It doesn't, so it looks like it was invalidated. So it's unfortunate there. It's not the easiest place to get 1x's like Spa is, where you can just run a bit wide, because here there is grass and like the curbs are quite tall in a lot of places. There aren't too many places where you would gain from cutting. I think this at Le Mans is the only corner where you could really gain by cutting part of the course. And that's not really a place where you would gain. It's just a place where there's runoff on the outside, so you might overextend yourself just a little bit. So yeah, a bit of an odd one there for that lap to be invalidated, but we're still waiting for some of the drivers to cross the line and finish all of their laps. But as we're saying, through here at sunset, some of the drivers are literally getting airtime around this part of the corner. You can see the cars going all over the place as they put the throttle down halfway through the corner. It's a very challenging part of the circuit, and Ming has just gone even faster than his original fastest time. Philpott's gone faster as well. That's put him up into second place, and the draft in these cars is pretty powerful, so that's why you're seeing a couple of trains forming here in open qualifying.
The Le Mans section there, you were very, very right in pointing that one out, Dane. The preferred line wants you to cut the inside of the curb a bit, which, if done incorrectly, can net you a big slowdown. And of course, in qualifying, your lap is invalidated, but of course, during the first couple of laps, as you know, that's going to be very, very, very hard to overcome. Usually, it sends you all the way to the back of the grid. So, another thing to consider when talking about the first lap. Of course, 1 hour race, so you can make some of it up because it's a very, very long race, much longer than the official series. Again, we have the pit stop, etc. But let's be honest, you want to stay out of trouble as much as possible, because these guys at the front, Ming, Philpott, Beauchamp and the others, they are very quick, and if you lose time on them, or if you are one of them and you lose time in the beginning, you know, just matching their times is not going to be enough. You need to be faster than them. So, and I think lap traffic will be not an issue, but something we have to consider, especially, you know, given that it's at night. And hopefully, the drivers have listened to your suggestion from a few days ago about turning on the headlights in the mirrors. Otherwise, you could have a very unpleasant. So you could go old school. We're talking about this for the new viewers out here. For the older users, as McCutchinson goes in second, this is quite a novelty, because up until a few years ago, the Radical and the Racing didn't have headlights, and then they were added many years into the life cycle of the car to have it race together with the. Actually, Dane, I don't know if you know this, but before doing that, the car was also in talks by iRacing to be the replacement for the replacement for the prototype challenge cars in IMSA. There was talk of putting this car in IMSA a few seasons ago, but then they didn't work. They were tripping up with the Porsche Cup cars that were in IMSA back then, and then it got it didn't work out in the end.
Honestly, that sounds like such a long time ago. Porsche Cup and IMSA, what? IMSA's always been GT3, GTE, and then a prototype ever since I've been on iRacing. So here he's and seeing clips from back then of where the classes are just completely different in some of the series is actually quite funny. But yeah, like you said, headlights are new. Our very own Lee Thompson didn't believe me when I told him earlier this week that the Radicals do in fact have headlights and that they will be able to race around Sebring in the dark. Oh dear, that's not a very happy looking Radical. Oh, and there's somebody else about to join him in the wall on the inside. Very nearly was Thurman. as some of the drivers getting a little bit out of sorts in the dark. Very easy to do. Like you said, Marco, very few lights around the circuit. Most of them are coming from those camper vans, which are very odd to look at when you're in iRacing because... oh, there we go.
Oh, Danny
It was going to happen eventually. One of the more experienced racers in the series as well. Danny Lee, he's been around for a very long time. And yeah, one of the more experienced, up in 6th place, so pretty quick. Race winner from Spa-Francorchamps. You can't do that without having some pace on you. And yeah, spins it around at sunset, literally catching air over those bumps. And it makes it so incredibly difficult when you're turning and braking, and to begin with, and then lifting off the brake and putting down the throttle whilst it's still super bumpy. It is very, very difficult to do, especially in these radicals, as we watch the last of the few drivers waiting still to set their lap times, and we'll get underway for the hour-long race. It's not the same format we had last time out at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, where we had 2 25-minute races. This time it is the single race format, 1 hour, and it's going to be a long one for these drivers. I think if we see anyone not spin the car in an hour, they've done well. Very well. So it's definitely going to be a race of attrition, I think, here, Marco. Drivers are just going to have to keep it clean more than anything else if they want to do well here.
They absolutely want. And one more thing I wanted to say, which I, of course, forgot. Yes, of course, we have the long race, but thankfully standing start, so no hour-long pace lap.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The pace lap at Sebring does tend to like to take a bit of time. Well, we're going to have to hurry up with the grid as well, because the drivers are very eager to get out on circuit. Kike Ming on pole position, less than a tenth behind was John McCutcheon, so hopefully we'll get another big battle between these two. Daniel Beauchamp in third, hoping to improve over his Spa performance. Brad Philpott done a great job at Spa, hoping to continue that momentum forward. Mike Derman in fifth, then Danny Lee, winner in race number 2 at Spa last week. He'll be hoping to continue that progress as well. Arturas Kundalis in 7th, Paul Crabb and Aldous Putiklis round out your top pro drivers. Then you've got Marco Tolman, Graham Brown and Kev Copeland in the front 3 in the AM category, rounding out your top 12. Christian Engelhardt, Dean Powell, Moritz Rogentin, Joseph Saul, Thomas Sebas, Mira Hraski, Aaron Smith, Jack Reeve, rounding out your top 20. And I believe that may be all the drivers that we have. I'm just trying to quickly see who's got a pit lane start for today at Sebring. Aaron Smith, Jack Reeve, Mira Hraski, and Paul Crabb. I don't believe Paul Crabb is in the session. So the bottom 3 that you're seeing not lining up to take to the grid at the back of the field, Hraski, Smith, and Reeve, they all start from the pit lane in an order decided randomly, seemingly, by iRacing. 15 seconds before we get going. Marco, what do you think is going to happen into turn 1? Are they all going to make it?
You know, it's out of their hands, because sometimes you can be perfect and then hit a bump and then all hell breaks loose. So hopefully this is not the case.
Happened many a times for me in Porsche Cup races. Well, the lights are on. Everybody is revving their engines. We are ready to get going for an hour race at Sebring. And we go green, and that is a good start for Kike Ming on the inside, already covering off the attack from McCutcheon on the outside. Somebody's got a poor start in the background. It's pulled over all the way to the right-hand side of the circuit to try and get out of everybody's way. And it looks like, for the moment, everybody's got through cleanly. They are still too wide further back, but it's single file for the top 5. Ming, McCutcheon, Philpott, Beauchamp, and Lee. They're still going side by side through the end of the first sector, and here come the 3 drivers serving pit lane starts. Oh dear, we've got a car off in the background. Rogentin's off. Looks like Joseph Saul might be off in the background as well. Actually, no, Saul just about managed to avoid that, but did have to go a little bit too slowly. Rogentin has fallen all the way down the order. Very unfortunate stuff for him. Out of the hairpin for the first time in the top 5, and no position change for Kike Ming and John McCutcheon. Beauchamp's lost a position to Bradley Philpott on the opening part of the lap, and Danny Lee has got up into 5th.
As they come through the middle portion of the lap, with Ming leading the way, McCutcheon, Philpott. So Philpott jumped Beauchamp for third place, Danili up 1, Paul Crab up 2, and Kundelis sitting still in 7th place. Here comes Beauchamp on the inside. You never leave the door open, I've been told by a colleague, and that's exactly what happened. Door was open, Beauchamp went right inside of Philpott and got P3. He doesn't want to have the top 2 drivers run away, but he goes a little bit wide.
Dear.
That was a bit scary.
Yeah, and what might be a little bit more scary is those 2 headlights in his mirror. Brad Philpott, oh, he backs out. He's not going to go for a move here into Sunset. Probably a wise move there, as we've seen how difficult it can be for some of the drivers. There is a slightly wider line you can take with fewer bumps, but since it's a wider line, it is slower. Daniel Lee taking the inside line there on Crab, who was trying to go all the way around the outside. Oh dear, Dean Powell has found his way into the wall, it looked like, on the outside, but definitely has half at least spun it. So he's going to lose a few positions there. Unfortunate stuff. Thurman into the pit lane. So damage for Thurman the German, you would expect. Going to try and maybe take a fast repair. And Hraski's not had the best of starts either, despite having that pit lane start. Or even Smith managed to move up through the field. Hraski's dropping all the way back 30 seconds down through the field, so maybe something happened to Hraski.
He was involved, I saw him, his name flash in red somewhere. Maybe here. Yeah.
As he clipped the inside car. Oh! Round he goes. And he keeps it out the wall. Good job there. Oh, no he doesn't. He missed reverse and then just drove straight into the wall. Very slowly, it must be said, so probably no damage from that, but definitely a lot of time lost. Something I really like about iRacing at night is these cones. The cones change, and it's always funny when they just pop into your vision at the same time that the cat's eyes turn on iRacing. They're not usually there, and then at night all of a sudden, bang, they appear. But those cones, they have the new the reflective coating on them, which is quite helpful. They light up a little bit earlier than the rest of the cone. Ming hasn't been able to get rid of McCutcheon on this opening lap though, opening couple of laps I should say. McCutcheon's actually running a little bit wide there, touching the grass. We saw that happen to Beauchamp a lap earlier. These two have got a second lead over Beauchamp and Philpott, just behind those. So they are doing well to get away from the drivers behind. Getting an early lead will definitely help them. Oh, you can see just how much they're actually lifting and coasting somewhat through the corner. They could, if it wasn't bumpy, get on the power so much earlier, but the bumps really forcing their hands to staying a lot slower than they otherwise would need to do. This, oh, I thought he was going to look down the inside of turn 1, but it's not just Sunset, it's super bumpy here as well. You can see him, the steering wheel going berserk through turn 1 there. Also another bumpy part of the circuit here. Basically anytime you see that concrete, it's incredibly bumpy. But the tarmac, the asphalt, is almost just as bumpy. It's a different kind of bump. It's mostly level, but just worn down a bit, whereas the concrete is not only bumpy, but it's not level either. So that's why we're seeing some of the drivers catching air through Sunset and turn 1. But yeah, these two drivers up at the front, Ming and the Hutchinson marker, they've got a 1.5 second gap now to Beauchamp in third. So really trying to check out of this one as soon as possible.
Yeah, and so far it's working nicely for them. I think that this is very good work on their part. We'll see if Beauchamp, Philpott and Lee can organize a comeback. Also Paul Crab is there with them, so they should be able to work together. But of course the pace of Ming and McCutcheon is, we know it, and also in qualifying we saw how quick they are. And as a matter of fact, we are back to having the top 4 in the same order as they started just 5 minutes ago, as we entering lap 4. Oh, someone going very well. It's always nice to have this camera shot from the end of Sunset Bend and see these cars that go wide. It always looks like it's going to be a big crash, as Puteklis goes on to the inside of Kundelis, and I think the Latvian driver has made it stick barely, and up into P7 he goes.
Interestingly, McCutcheon has the fastest lap of the race that time by, but doesn't mean he caught up to Ming. Ming did set a faster time, but it was invalidated, so it wasn't counted as his new fastest lap. of the race. So that's one thing the drivers will have to watch out for. Some drivers got very close to and got penalties from the incident limit on, or incident drive-through penalty limit on the session. It is, I believe, 16. It is 16. So for every 16 incident points that the drivers get, they will have to come down into the pit lane. Once they've got one, then it's every 8 incident points after that. So 16 and 24 and so on. If you get more than that and you end up getting 3 drive-through penalties, then your race has not gone particularly well, Marco. But
no.
yeah, these drivers are definitely going to have to watch out for that. Sebring is probably the circuit where it's going to be the least of their worries, but it very much could throw a spanner in the works as Danny Lee up the inside at a place where you don't normally see overtakes being made. But he's got up the inside of Philpott and up into 4th position now.
Yeah, tower turn, he dove on the inside and was able to make the pass. I don't think that Brad was expecting it necessarily. Of course, they will now have to cover a bit of gap between themselves and Beauchamp. So maybe in the long run, not the greatest of ideas, but let's see. Maybe with Danny Lee at the front of this little train, they will be able to first catch back to Daniel Beauchamp and then try to close the gap between the top 2 and themselves. Here comes Ming on the start-finish line once again. And once again 53.268, but now Beauchamp beats him 53.162. Of course, it goes without saying, very cool track temperatures, not the coolest possible, that is 18 degrees, but 22 Celsius. We are still in a, basically 0 wind, and I would say almost perfect racing conditions.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Very near to perfect racing conditions. The only thing that might be a little bit higher is the humidity. That does help the cars a little bit, helping the handling of things. It's only 58%, which I say only. It's still quite a lot of humidity, but yeah, could be a little bit higher. The problem is with humidity, Marco, as I found out once in a winter VLN session, is once the humidity gets to 100%, it does not stop there. If you carry on going, you get fog, and fog in iRacing is something, especially at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, that is very, very scary. But luckily we don't have that here today. The overtaking Philpott has actually allowed Beauchamp to escape a little bit. A 1.5 second gap now between the drivers that were in a little bit of a battle there, and Beauchamp, who's split away from them, which is why I think Beauchamp set the next fastest lap of the race, because he was just able to focus purely on his own driving and not have to worry about the drivers right in his mirrors. So we look at Philpott also dropping back from Lee. So Lee has the pace on these guys, and it looks like he's going to be trying to catch up to the lead 3.
See, of course, last lap was not relevant for Lee because he had to make those moves, but let's see this time by with Lee at the head of the chasing pack. Let's see the lap time difference. The catch is a 52.965. Here we go, 1/10 of a second. So super close with those times, as Kundelis is trying to get back at Puteklis for P7. By the way, of course, we have 2 classes. The red are the pros, the white are the hams, as they are, you can see them on the top of the screen. And of course, Tolman is leading the amateur race. We also always remind you that these drivers, despite being in Pro and Am, they score points on the overall. So if you are the winner of the amateur class, you don't get the points for being the winner of the amateur class, you get the points in this case for being 9th. So there is always an incentive for these amateur drivers to defend their position, to fight. If they are faster than a pro driver, they, for all intent and purpose, should make the pass, because it's beneficial to their championship standings, if everything goes right, of course.
Yep, absolutely. Nick Hutchinson staying with Ming for now. Not able to lose the Scottish driver behind him is Ming at the moment. I'm sure he would love to do that, but it looks like we might have a similar situation to what we saw at Suzuka, where these 2 drivers off somewhat into the distance, not entirely, but they do drive off a little bit. All the way over there, I wouldn't do that. onto the concrete on the inside. I say this because I've seen someone do that and then get hit with a landmine and absolutely find themselves in Narnia, the Shadow Realm, up in space, whatever you would like to call it. But they do happen every now and then, and especially in the Radical, which is quite stiff and low to the ground, I would definitely not be driving on that part of the circuit. I think it was a little bit further down that my my friend got hit by a landmine there, but definitely would not be doing that myself. McCutcheon's in with the new fastest lap of the race. The times will keep tumbling as the track cools and the fuel runs out in these Radicals, and we're having a move being made there up the inside. Goes Kundalis on Puticlis, so the Lithuanian driver gets back past the Latvian. We'll see what exactly happened here, because the gap was quite big.
I think he went off in the gravel trap at turn 1.
That's very easy to do there. Gets a little bit loose, and up the inside, very easy move there for Kundalis to get up in 7th.
Dane, speaking of landmines, you make me think about also the protruding pit wall here at Sebring that over the course of the years has made has taken some names and some souls.
Formula Renault 3.5 at some point last year. I remember watching that with Austin, and that was quite incredible. I believe that even made it onto the 10,000 subscriber highlights video. I could be wrong, but I think it did. But yeah, that was an incredibly funny moment. I'm sure not for the driver, but for us watching, was quite entertaining.
By the way, let me send a big hug to Austin. You are the man. Can't wait to do IGP Fun on Sunday with you, Austin.
We got a lovely show of Austin's karaoke on Saturday. Was it Saturday or Sunday? It was Saturday. Oh, it was Sunday. It was Sunday. I know my days. It was Sunday night that Austin gave us a treat to his karaoke. That was a very fun evening. McCutcheon's actually closed the gap a lot to Ming up at the front. Less than 0.3 of a second now. So doing a very good job there in 2nd place. Riding on board with Philpott at the moment, looking back at Crab. So these two are having a small scrap here. Marco, I have not been here for any of the longer races. What is the fuel window-ish for the drivers here? Because I do believe they have to make a pit stop at some point in the race.
They have to make a pit stop now. Of course, it depends on how much on the track, as you know, the percentage of the throttle being open. If memory serves me right, we should expect a pit stop around the 30 to 40 minute mark, depending on the track. So, which will inching closer to the 40 minutes than the 30 minutes, more or less.
Good to know. We will have to wait and see how that all plays out. We might even see a couple drivers making early pit stops, getting a little bit extra fuel in for the end of the race. We might see that, we might not. But yeah, definitely most of the drivers will just run the tank dry and then yeah, fill it back up with however much they need. It usually is the safest bet, especially at a place such as Sebring. It's very easy to miscalculate your fuel if you try and do it a bit too early. So running it dry is usually the safest thing to do, unless your name is Mark Trenter and you're in the Sebring 12 hours and you forget to pit on the lap that you're supposed to pit and run out of fuel on that lap. It doesn't matter, we still ended up winning that race.
in Road America, the pit window, the pits were basically made between minute 30 and 35. It's a very long track, so we can have a bit of a comparison to this. Oh, and we have a problem there at the back for Graham Brown.
It is Sunset. Sunset claims its first victim of the race. I don't see any damage on the car.
So somebody went off there as well, I think, earlier. I think Dean Powell or Jack Reeb went off there earlier. But maybe I'm confused. In any case, ooh, great avoidance job by everyone.
Very close. Especially because it's dark, the drivers probably did not even see the car there for a long time. So
This is what I was talking about. Jack Reeve, our first victim a few laps ago here at Sunset Bend.
There we go.
See, I'm getting older, but my memory still works sometimes.
Ah, yeah, mine is totally gone at this point. Completely gone. McCutcheon's actually dropped back a little bit now.
Yeah, and Beauchamp
Wonder
is
why
closing
that
in.
would be. Yeah, Beauchamp's been really quick, setting fastest lap of the race, and caught up the gap quite a bit. You can see there, caught up the gap by 0.2 of a second. Unfortunately, he's lost 0.4 of a second on the last few laps, so he's gained some time back. He hasn't actually started gaining on the drivers in front. McCutcheon definitely has been losing, and for once, Marco, that graphic doesn't show us a rude gesture.
Sorry?
For once, the lap graphic on the bottom right-hand corner it's been nice to us.
Yeah, I'm very happy about it. You know,
it hurts you getting offended on the weekend.
Been very rude to us
Oh
in the
dear!
weeks, and here we go. Engelhardt around the outside with Kev Copeland defending on the inside, as you were saying. Different interpretations. I mean, if you go wide there, that tire wall comes at you fast.
It really, really does. Sometimes you don't even expect it. Copeland doing just about enough to keep Engelhardt behind at that point, it seems. On the exit there, Engelhardt maybe had a bit of extra speed. Very late on the brakes. Oh, at one point it didn't look like he was going to be able to make it. Oh, clipping the curb on the inside as well there. You can see the corrections he has to make. This car is a massive handful to drive, isn't it? It's awesome to watch, but it must be very difficult. It's one of my favourite cars to hot lap around the Nordschleife because it is just so difficult to drive and very easy to do that under braking that Copeland's just done in front. Get a nice little wiggle on.
Kuteglis still defending from Kundelis, as Tolman I think has joined the party, the amateur leader. There is, as Ming has now gotten the fastest sector 2 in this lap, so he's pushing as well. Of course, when the gaps are so restricted, it is massively important to get your pit stop right, and a small mistake like missing your pit stop, etc., can make you lose at least one, if not more, positions. And of course, you have to be on point with your fuel calculations. Therefore, you should use SDK Gaming, sdk-gaming.co.uk, for all your needs, both of broadcasting and in race spotting. Okay, this is quite physical confrontation between Philpott and Crab up to 5th position. That was a big hard scrap. These cars don't like physical confrontations, Dane, so I'm surprised they both survived. Especially there at Sunset Bend.
Yeah, it's a bit of a miracle, that, actually. So yeah, it's very lucky that they've managed to get away with that. We're going to see a replay of what's happened here live from the chopper cam, which is usually a lot more useful during the day, but let's have a look here into Sunset. Massively late on the brakes for Crab around the outside, still squeezing him on the inside. Oh, and then twice they make contact, and quite honestly, that is a fantastic move. 4th position there from Crab. That is incredible stuff.
And I was saying, with SDK Gaming, you can add your virtual live HUD to iRacing, show time in towers, relative boxes, minimaps, fuel calculators, and more. You can use it to stream live to Twitch with the most complete overlay on iRacing. And as we are doing now, you can broadcast your leagues and series with SDK Gaming sync service that syncs your cameras, your pictures, your graphics to your team, commentary team cameras, of course. And you can adjust your team strategy on the fly with the most accurate live timing on iRacing. And of course, that also includes fuel and other nice stuff that I wouldn't be able to do on my own. Both in metric and imperial systems, by the way, if you want.
Yep, fantastic. A little bit of software this is. Philpott now. Oh, there goes purple lap time from Ming. Gained almost an entire second on McCutcheon on that lap, so that was a fantastic lap for Ming. as we head into the second third of the race. That's fantastic job forming up in the front. That's why he's leading the championship. He is on point in this car.
The lap time comparison, 0.7 of a second gain. He's been gaining steadily, but then lap 11 it really ballooned into massive 7.5 of a second gained. And I have to say, Dane, that John McHutchison now, I think it's more focused on what's behind him than what's in front of him.
Yeah, I think that is pretty safe to say at the moment. You will still be able to see Ming in front of him, but he's definitely going to be focused on the driver catching him at a considerable rate at the moment. That is, of course, Daniel Beauchamp. Pole position at Spa last time out. So definitely one of the drivers with a lot of pace in the series. Oh, and he's run a bit wide there, got on the grass. Lucky to get away with that one without losing any time at all. He's in the draft of McHutchison and is now back to gaining.
Imagine if this race had rain. I talk about nightmare conditions for these drivers.
And then add fog. Add rain and fog, and that's just fantastic. Another fastest lap of the race there.
One would imagine with when the rain comes, of course, an increase in rain would bring an increase in fog. And as a broadcaster, I can tell you that fog is not good. Look at the bumps there. The more you get close to that wall, the more you get those massive bumps, Engelhardt and Copeland. So yeah, would be quite a mess to commentate a race with the rain and fog, but also very entertaining. I don't know if the drivers would love that. Did you see that cone there that's stuck on the catch fence on the inside? It has been the centerpiece of many conspiracy theories over the years in iRacing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, of course, our resident conspiracy theorist, Sam Fitzpatrick, spearheading the it's a graphical bug, but no, in real life it is there. It is used to signal the apex of turn 1. So a lot of people don't notice it after, they notice after years that it is there, but no, it is there. It is there to signal the apex of turn 1.
Interesting. I would have just assumed that that's one of the weird cones that iRacing puts in places where there are no cones. They do that quite often, it seems, in iRacing. They do like to add random cones to places.
The cones at Motegi always irk me because they are, especially in some corners at Motegi, they are put in the racing line, and so every time you switch cameras to a driver that's there, you get showered with cones all over the camera lens, and looks very strange. Engelhardt went for it there, but maybe too optimistic, and you see losing momentum after having to retreat. And Copeland pulls away and lives to fight another day as we are heading into the 25th minute. So I'd say we are around 5 minutes away from the opening of the pit window. You can follow each pit stop in the live timing link. It's in the race chat, and also on the bottom of your screen you will see the pit stops counter appear, and of course we'll try to follow them as they happen. Especially now, Kike Ming has really kicked into another gear. Even though McHutchison did his personal best last time by, again the gap 1.8 seconds. So maybe this was Ming's decisive moment to pull away and have the pit stop with relative safety when the time comes, given the advantage he has right now.
The problem is, for me, at the moment, is that he's in a very awful situation in terms of relatives to drivers far behind. Because when you're making your pit stop, you've also got to figure out not only where am I going to come in, where am I going to go in, where am I going to come out in relation to the person directly behind me. You've got to figure out who's going to be around me when I exit the pits, because that can be it can make a massive difference. If you come out in a lot of traffic, you're going to be slowed down, and if the driver behind you comes out a bit later, and then you've cleared the traffic, but they never had the traffic to begin with, they're going to gain a lot of time on you and maybe even overtake you. So that's what some of the drivers will be trying to work out as well, because there are drivers pretty much spread all over the place at the moment. We are now riding on board with the Radical of Brad Philpott. You can see there are some big gaps there. The drivers will really want to try and get into one of those if at all possible. But you can also see there are some areas with some traffic. You can see 7th, 8th and 9th just behind who we're currently riding on board with Brad Philpott. You've got 10th, 11th and somewhat 12th as well. 14th, 15th and 16th too, bit of traffic there. So they'll want to avoid coming out in front of or behind any of those groups of drivers. Look at this. For a battle, 0.3 of a second now, and maybe a couple of Radical lengths between McCutchinson and Beauchamp. And these two battling is only going to allow one thing, and that is Ming to escape even further. But we don't mind. We'll have a little battle for podium positions, don't we, Marco?
Yes, and one thing that we can say about this series, no matter the track, no matter the race format, battles have been the order of the day, and tonight it's been more of the same. And actually also the fight that we have between Crab and Philpott. Here we go, Philpott on the inside, but that's not really a passing opportunity as they enter the middle portion of the lap. Let's jump on board with him, ready to switch back to the fight for second as they enter the Le Mans section. Look how they try to, especially this curb, they try to cut it, and this one as much as possible, then swing wide, but not too wide, because otherwise you go into the grass here. And now on the Allman Straight, and this is such a long straight, even for these cars, and you have to prepare mentally. I don't know about you, Dane, but every time I take Sunset Bend, I take it with a different line. Oh dear! Again, very ambitious move from Philpott, but these ambitious moves, Dane, they are not working tonight.
No, they are not, unfortunately for him. Very nearly made contact there where I think Crab might have even run a little bit wide there. Ming set another fastest lap of the race, by the way, in case you missed that on the timing tower. And that just further increases his race lead. It's 2.5 seconds now at the moment. Brown is into the pits. That is a pit stop. That is not him towing to the pits. He has done this on his own accord, and it's almost dead on halfway. So he is one of those drivers who like to pit halfway through the race. Some of the drivers like to pit early and run a long fuel stint to the end. Some drivers, they don't actually have that liberty in this series, I don't think. I think it is potentially a fixed setup series, although I might be confusing that with something else actually. But yeah, these drivers, I think most of them are going to be sending it all the way until the fuel tank is dry. A couple more drivers into the pits though. Looks like Saul has joined Brown in the pits. And this battle between Engelhardt and Copeland is still heating up.
Yeah, finally Engelhardt was able to make the pass, but I don't think Copeland is happy with it, and he's trying to get back at him. A little bit of a creative line there from Engelhardt. This is the fight for 10th, but of course also for second in the amateur class. The amateur leader has checked out 10 seconds over this battling duo. Therefore, unless Marco makes a big mistake, that is going to be incredibly tough for his opponents to catch back to him, but we never know. We still have half an hour left, and as we have said multiple times, this is Sebring, so the track is your #1 rival. Back to the fight for the second position, and once again Beauchamp poking his nose as Puteklis goes into the pits from P7. Not to be for him. Let's see if Philpott goes for the same kind of move. No, he stays put behind Paul Crab.
And I have been corrected, it is not a fixed setup race. I didn't think it was. I don't actually know why I said that. Puteklis, of course, into the pits. Oh, look at how much correction needed from Brad Philpott there by his Radical. That was quite impressive that he managed to keep that going in a somewhat straight line. Under the Mobile 1 bridge, Now down through the gears into the braking zone. Very tricky braking zone because the surface changes to this concrete halfway through, and it really does wreak havoc on the balance of the car. Now on the right hand side there's a bit of a gap in the wall. I've used that to scare people on iRacing many times. It is the what circuit is it? The National Pits. Oh, another correction there.
Is the club
from
circuit.
Philpott. The club circuit pits, and they come out just there in the S's, and you can give people mini heart attacks by coming out of that pit exit.
Actually the pit lane of the club circuit.
Yeah,
it is. Speaking of the hairpin, if you go straight and turn left, you go into the Shadow Realm. But if you go straight and turn right and take the escape road, you get for some reason a slowdown, even though you are making basically extra 300 meters. iRacing mysteries.
Yeah, iRacing gives some slowdowns in fantastic place. Oh, that was not great, as McCutcheon sent into the pits, Ming into the pits, Beauchamp into the pits, so it looks like the fuel is actually limiting drivers now. It's not people pitting at halfway, it is fuel. We're going to see a replay of all disputing this. What's happened to the driver with the number 113? Is it a lock-up and a spin into the hairpin? It is a lock-up and a spin into the hairpin. Oh, and there's a driver right behind as he got going again as well. All three of the top three from the race are into the pits and into their pit boxes. If any of them go up onto their jacks, that is a mistake, as the drivers should not really be taking tyres in this short of a race. They will lose way more time than they will gain from taking tyres. We'll see who takes the least amount of fuel though now. Ming out first, Beauchamp out next, McCutcheon losing out. McCutcheon's there for a long time. Penalty?
Pit is going into the 35 seconds. Is he on the jacks? No, I don't think so. Tough camera angle
no, he's not.
Spot it, and this could be
That's
penalty.
A penalty. Oh, that is terrible. That is absolutely terrible for McCutcheon. He's going to lose so much time, so many positions there. Has basically gifted Beauchamp second place. That is, yeah, it definitely is a penalty. Look how much time you spent in the pit lane there. Oh, that is awful. From McCutcheon, what could have been a fantastic race is now basically been thrown away.
Then we were
out
talking
onto the
about
circuit he comes now.
The small margins earlier. When you are this close, the pit stop becomes the turning point of the race, and more likely than not, it can be the turning point for worse. You don't get any bonus points for having a good pit stop, but you can lose a lot of time getting a bad one. And there, unfortunately, was the race for John. And here we go with Philpott and Crab. They should be pitting this time by. Here comes Philpott as Danny Lee comes in from the temporary lead. Are they both turning right? I think they are. And there they go.
Ooh, just about making it into the pits. Those cones on the outside, people sometimes slam through them, but if you do that, you get a nice penalty. Someone in my split of the Sebring 12 hours found that out the very hard way. Here comes Engelhardt, safely avoids the cones, and very much so slows down enough for the pit speed limiter, as all the drivers now making their way into the pit lane. Philpott into the pits at the moment. Kike Ming out in front will pass all of them, and it won't even be close. And well, it might be a little bit close. There's some of the drivers in the pit lane coming out with each other. Crab and Philpott I'm looking at the most. Who's going to come out in front out of that lot? Danny Lee up into the podium positions then, of course. Was fourth before the pit stop window. McCutcheon has gifted him a podium spot. Crab has come out actually a lot ahead of Philpott. They were literally neck and neck, nose to bumper, heading into the pits, and that's not neck and neck at all. That's quite a big gap.
Yeah, Paul Crab, the 3 seconds faster stop than Philpott.
Yeah, that might be under fueling there. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe some fuel saving will be required.
So when it's all said and done, McCutcheon is in 12th place. He lost quite a lot of position. He lost position even to Puteklis, who we saw he pitted, came out of the pits and then spun, and still he is behind him. Puteklis is in 8th. So this goes to show the massive amount of time that was lost by the number 196 Agis Racing driver, and now he has a long way to go, a long way to come back. We should keep an eye on him. He's got around 25 minutes to make something happen out of this disaster of a pit stop, and at least try to come back a few places. But Kike Ming, big smile, 3.4 seconds in front of second place, and of course, as we were saying, Danny Lee able to enjoy a nice third place with 9 seconds over fourth place. So the podium guys, big winners of this round of pit stops.
Enjoy might not be the right word there, Marco. He's got to deal with Sebring for another 25 minutes in the Radical at night. So I don't think he'll be enjoying the gap very much. I think he'll be worrying about making a mistake and losing the gap more than anything else. He's it's definitely one of the most difficult car track combinations that we've seen in most of the Apex Racing leagues for a while. Yeah, it's definitely one very, very difficult combination. We'll see what Lee can do though. He's losing time to Ming, but that's somewhat to be expected. Ming is in another class at the moment. We need a Pro-Am and a Ming class. Honestly, in this series, the way he's been driving throughout this series, it's been fantastic to watch. Beauchamp in second. He's somewhat maintaining the same speed as Ming. Definitely not gaining, but not losing too much either. But it'll be interesting to see what Lee can do relating to Beauchamp, if he can try and catch up that gap. He does have 22 minutes left in the race, so we'll have to see what he can do about that. As there goes Copeland back past Engelhardt. That battle was sorted out, done and dusted in the pit lane. But Engelhardt's made a mistake, it looks like, as has McCutchinson, losing yet more time and positions.
Yeah, lost a to Thomas Sibas. Let's see what happened here. He was closing down on Graham Brown of Team GB.
Oh.
Ooh. I like the clever team name for Graham Brown, of course, because GB stands for, Great Britain and Graham Brown, of course. Here comes Engelhardt. This fight has basically 38 minutes. And they passed each other a bunch of times.
Oh! How has he saved that? How has he saved that? That's going on social media.
Let's watch it again from his onboard. We were on board with it, but let's see the work with the wheel, Dane. Incredible stuff.
There it snaps. Oh wow. I honestly thought he had a one-way ticket to Wall City right there. Oh my goodness. How on earth has he managed to save that? That's incredible. He's run a bit wide, got all four wheels on the grass. What a save.
Great stuff, and the battle continues between the pair of them. Oh, now it's Sibas' time to go wide, and McCutchinson is coming for him as they head under the Corvette bridge, heading for the hairpin. I think McCutchinson has got the move done. Needs to cover the inside for the braking zone. I think that should work just fine. Danny Lee, what happened? Oh, he's slow.
Is that just letting people past? No. The car's off. So what on earth has happened there?
We need to go back a little bit more. I don't know where. So let's see, this happened. Let's try here, because there is no incident. Everything seems okay. Oh, the engine went on a downshift. On a downshift. Oh dear.
No! That's
Incredible.
horrible. Did he downshift too quickly?
I think that's the only reason, only possibility.
It didn't sound like it. Usually, you can hear it. it will sound like he's over-revved the engine, but that just sounded like it went. Wow. That is so unfortunate for the last race winner in the series. For that to happen, oh wow. That's actually very sad, that, for Danny Lee. And engine blown. We were talking about it on the weekend market. Mechanical failures rarely happen in iRacing, or we might have given Danny Lee a commentator's curse 4 days in advance there, because he's just had a mechanical failure of his own. Goodbye goes the engine, and he's had to coast to a stop on the side of the track and retire from the race. So very unfortunate stuff there. Only 20 minutes left as well. Aaron Smith
is off. Engelhardt.
Oh, has there been contact? Looks like the same part of the circuit.
So heading for the hairpin. Let's see. So my theory is this, Dane, is that 40 minutes on this track with the aging tires at night, it's really taking its toll on the drivers. So we are seeing a lot more mistakes after the pit stops.
Danny Lee is back out on track. Good to see. On the lead lap as well.
Yeah. Barely.
Only just, yeah. A couple seconds in it, but he will have fresh tyres. So I reckon he'll be able to pull away from the driver behind, which is, of course, Ming. And he's got his own teammate, Dean Powell, about 15 seconds up the road. So we'll see what he can do about that. But yeah, good to see him back out on the circuit, and he hasn't just alt F4'd after the race. He's obviously enjoying the combination. I think it is a very enjoyable combination if you're not racing with somebody. I think the stress of racing somebody in these conditions would be a bit much. But hot lapping, which he's essentially doing at this point, why not go for it?
To add more to the drama, and thank you to Andy Thompson for letting us know.
I've just seen the same thing.
Paul Crabb should have started from the pits and therefore not qualify, but he qualified and started, I think, around 7th, 8th position, something like that. So that might incur in a post-race penalty. Of course, we leave that. This is all in hypothetical, and we leave that to the race officials. But from my days at Apex Racing League, I think if things haven't changed, that should be a red card for next round.
I think it might be. I'm going to go and double check on this.
So might as well go out on a bang for Paul and finish on the podium.
Yeah, very much could be, as I'm going to go and have a quick quiz over the rules and regulations. But yeah, definitely, I think if he has a penalty and he's served it, or he hasn't served it at all, well, he could have a very massive penalty on his way. So if a driver does not do this, oh yes, bang, ban for the next race, potentially coming Crab's way. Oh dear, that's a costly mistake, isn't it? That's a very costly mistake.
Yeah, and also his third place, in any case, is in jeopardy as Brown goes past Copeland because Copeland is off at sunset.
Oh, and there goes McHutchinson as well. Only avoiding him pretty late into the corner. What's happened to Kev Copeland here? Obviously he spun it. Oof. Oh my goodness.
Too close to the wall.
That was huge. The size of the bump that he went over there. That it just lifted the car off the ground and sent it around. That's huge bumps. That's why at Sebring you've got to respect the bumps. I think it is the track's catchphrase at this point. Respect the bumps.
I read an article when was that? Yeah, after this year's real life Sebring 12 hours. And the article was, it's time to repave Sebring, and I have never seen an article get so much negative responses. No, we've seen it's different kind of racing, but every time they have repaved an oval in NASCAR, it has given terrible racing for the next 10 years because the surface being too pristine, as the drivers had to beg the Atlanta Motor Speedway for years not to do a repave because of how fun it was to drive around Atlanta with the basically the surface being reduced to, I don't know, gravel basically. So yeah, repaves, unless they are for safety reasons, are never a good idea in my opinion.
Oh dear. Thomas Seabass. Yeah, this track has actually got to the point where the bumps are its character, and I think removing the bumps would just be terrible. But I have some information about Thurman the German. The German Thurman is in 20th place and dead last. The reason for this is that he got a new pedal set last week, and he made a huge error, forgot to recalibrate his clutch pedal. So at the start of the race, when he put his foot on the clutch pedal, put it right to the floor, and floored the throttle for his standing start, he jumped the start.
Yeah, we
and
just saw it
so,
on the replay. Yeah. Small, but iRacing
that's a big black flag of 34 seconds.
Rightly unforgiving with him.
Very unfortunate stuff there for him. But that is why Thurman is out of the race, and he was the driver letting everybody through at the start of the race as well. I did see someone, I thought he just got a bad start. No, he got a start miles before everybody else. So unfortunate stuff for him. We will see him at Imola for the final round. It is a bit of a battle that's been stagnant for a bit, but seems to have reignited somewhat. Crab versus Philpott. 22 seconds behind the leaders, 19 seconds behind Beauchamp, who's in second. 11 seconds in front of Kuntelis behind them. They've got loads of clear track to get through, and they're going to use it to battle each other. Oh, look at the slide from Crab in front. That was huge. Doing very well, these drivers, especially on 48-minute-old tyres at this point, 26 laps, 25 laps. These cars have been on these tyres for around Sebring. It's going to do something to your tyres. It's nothing good. Yeah, these drivers doing a fantastic job keeping the cars on the circuit. Oh, it's a send up the inside from Philpott, and he just about doesn't make it all the way alongside. A little bit of a flash of the headlights there, possibly.
Oh, he's off!
Oh no! Crab is off onto the dirt on the outside. It's not gravel, it is just dust. And now defending the inside through the right-hander in towards the hairpin. On the bumps now. Bit of a lock-up. Oh, and around he goes. Round goes Crab. Philpott up into third.
Yeah, Crab was sideways there. Good catch, Dane, and of course nothing you can do about that at that point. So up into third goes Brad Philpott, our former podium occupant, which was of course John McCutchinson, is now up into ninth. Let's see his time comparison with Graham Brown, and he is gaining around a second per lap, but I don't know where time has gone because we only have 10 minutes left in this race, so he needs to try to get to Brown. Then I think Puteklis is 10 seconds in front, so unless something crazy happens, I think McCutchinson will have to settle at the most for an 8th place finish, which, given his pace, is very, very little for what he could have achieved on the racer. But that's why we have pit stops, that way the race is 1 hour long, because you need to be absolutely perfect in order to get the result, and today McCutchinson knows in his heart. We can imagine, as we were saying, pit. When you are held during the pit stop, it means that you either have a safe pit entrance or you sped entering the pits. So either one of the two. And again, they are driver mistake, unless unless your pit limiter button breaks in that case, but I never heard such thing. Oh, Seabass!
Too close to the wall, my friend. Thomas Seabass, give it some space. If you get too close to the wall, it doesn't like that. It likes its personal bubble. If you get in that bubble, it will throw you around, just like we saw with the driver he's battling with, Kev Copeland. So he's looking in his mirrors thinking, haha, he's going too close to the wall there, he's going to get spun around. But yeah, that's not the place that you want to really be. Of course, in some cars, Porsche Cup car around Sebring is fantastic. The old one, at least. I've never driven the new one here. But the old one at Sebring, around the bumps, was fantastic. Gunter was in the pit lane for a moment, but that might just be a slight connection issue on his end, because he's not in the pit lane. He is definitely still out on track.
Either that or a creative line on the front stretch. Let's see. No,
He just probably is going to disappear.
Now, there are some places in iRacing where if you go wide, you get signaled as entering the pits. One of them is Blanchimon. I don't know if you ever noticed. If you go wide at Blanchimon, it triggers that you are about to enter the pits.
No, I've never noticed that before.
Try it next time.
I'm going to have to do that now, and people are going to be looking at me in a random open practice session like, why is this dude running the Spa 24 hours line of Blanchimon?
You have live timing open and go wide at Blanchimon. You will see Dane Bird is entering the pits.
Oh, look at how loose Philpot's getting there through the left-hander. Very, very loose on these tyres at the moment. 7 minutes left in the race, of course. Beauchamp's catching the gap to Ming, actually. Only 2 seconds now is the gap. But I don't think he'll be able to close down enough time to make anything happen for the lead of the race by the end of this race. And what's going to happen now is, unless Ming makes a mistake, it looks like he is very much going to be in prime position to take the win here today. Philpot still in 3rd position, but definitely being put under pressure there, Marco, by Crab, who, yes, might be getting a massive penalty for the next round. Probably does not know that, otherwise he... Oh, no! Rasky and Reeve!
Rasky, yeah. Oh, careful! Mamma mia! Who was that?
Dean Powell. It was Dean Powell. And Reeve straight into the pits. Probably going to get a penalty for that as well, because I think he crossed over the cone. But, oh, wow, that was unfortunate to begin with. And then just Dean Powell coming around here.
In the dark. Oh, man.
Oh, what a absolutely terrible rejoin. That's worse than my one in that Skip Barber race at Zolder, Marco.
A friendly reminder to use your F3 button, relative black box, as per usual. Jack Reeves had, I think, 3 or 4 crashes today, and
yeah, not had a good round.
Not a good round, and Miro Rasky also has had some issues today. Now, is Danny Lee on the lead lap? No, he went 1 lap down. Okay. Dean Powell is fighting with Danny Lee. This is for position. This is for 14th place. It is yes, you are right. Apologies.
That's a good move there from Powell, actually. That's a fantastic move from Powell. Is it going to stick, though? I'm not too sure about this one. Brasky is back up the inside. Side by side through the double F now. But Powell will have the inside for Lemar. Are they going to still be side by side? No, they're not. So, very good move there from Powell to move up into unlucky position number 13.
There's the race leader, and look at his last lap time.
Purple.
He was just relaxing out there. Still 2.5 seconds. It's not an easy margin. Again, you open yourself to all sorts of issues should you make a mistake. As we enter lap number 30 with 56 minutes on the clock. Kike Ming in front of Daniel Beauchamp. And then a little bit behind on the Allman Straight is this dueling duo of Brad Philpott and Paul Crabb for 3rd place.
Oh, very close there. Crabb almost running into the back of Philpott there, now on the exit. once again getting it a little bit loose. The tyre starting to scream as 4 minutes are left in this race. I believe the drivers are going to have 3 laps to go though. So we will reach lap 32. Lap 32 will be the end of the race unless my maths is horrendous. It was horrendous in the South African iRacing 6 Hours of Le Mans on the weekend. Hopefully my maths is a bit better here today. I believe we're going to be ending the race on lap 32. The driver still have a little bit of time. Paul Crabb still has a bit of time to finish off his last race in the series, what we think is going to be his last race in the series this season, at least on the podium. It's so scary heading into the hairpin there, with the bumps and the change in surface and the risk of locking up the tyres. We've seen so many drivers spin there already, and it just sounds like the cars are going to turn around at any moment heading into this braking zone. And then you've got to be so careful on putting the power down on exit too, because you put that power down slightly too hard and around she will go. Looking all over the place is Crabb, left, right and centre at the moment, trying to get past Philpott. Preferably he chooses one that isn't the centre as we make our way down through the double left into Le Mans once more. It's probably one of the best opportunities he's had all race long through Le Mans. Now the right hander, get a good exit here. Oh no, it's grass, it's grass. He's saved it, he kept it going in a straight line, but he's lost a little bit of time, and that's not going to help his cause at all. Do you know what I wish, Marco?
That we had more laps?
That we had lights in the cockpit so I could see the steering wheel going berserk through sunset.
Yeah.
Unless there's a driver behind you, you can't see the steering wheel. It's completely pitch black.
Yeah,
in the cockpit there.
I know. And one thing that really gets me, I don't know why, even in some of the newer GT cars on iRacing, some of them have the purple light on the inside and some don't, like the BMW GT doesn't. And I love that slight purplish hue that you have inside the car. It's very relaxing and comforting. Also, iRacing, please unify your GT3 cars, because we did Spa a few months ago, 24-hour race. Some cars had the backlit numbers on the side, some didn't, some had the Lumirang system, some didn't. It looked awful. Sorry, I needed to get this out of my system. I needed to jump on my soapbox and let it out for the world to hear.
It's really cool to see at night the front brake discs glowing orange in the braking zone. Super, super cool to see that. It's something that you don't see very often because most people are not rebellious enough, I would say, to host a Sebring race in the dark in radicals. But the front brake discs do glow orange, and it is pretty cool to see. He always caught the curb on the inside there for Paul Crabb, and that's probably just throwing away any chance of getting onto the podium without Philpott making a mistake. Here is SDK Gaming. Behind him is not Beauchamp, as you might have originally thought. It is the fastest man out on circuit at the moment. In fact, of the entire race. Danny Lee setting the new fastest lap of the race on his lap 31, but the final lap of the race for him nonetheless. Moving on to the final lap now. 10 seconds left on the clock, so Ming definitely will not be able to finish this lap in time. So we are now on the white flag lap for the leaders. John McCutcheon is not yet on that final lap, but he does have Brown in front of him. Around about half a second is the gap between these two, and he will have one lap to try and get by him if he can catch up. And well, you got a little bit loose there.
Yeah, lost a lot of time.
This battle still continues. Thomas Seabass trying to get past Kev Copeland. Unsuccessfully as of yet. But the gap is 1.5 tenths of a second. He looks to the inside, but he throws the dummy. Kev Copeland, way too experienced for that. Does not get phased at all. Beautiful line through there, it must be said, by Kev Copeland on that occasion through Big Bend. Oh, bit of tyre screeching there. You could hear the tyre starting to try and give up on him. Paul Crabb I don't think he's going to be able to get past Philpott before the end of this race. It will be close. If Philpott makes a mistake, it's game over for him. But I think he's just about done enough to keep himself ahead. But for KK Ming, it's comfortable. It's very comfortable. 7 seconds is the gap between himself and Beauchamp. He's going to cross the line to take the win in the penultimate round of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship. Brad Philpott was almost getting pushed down the back straight by Crab. We'll see now into Sunset Corner. Crab's going to have to try and get a switch back of some sort into this corner. He goes to the outside. He'll try cut back to the inside maybe. No. He's just going to get stuck behind. Beauchamp finishes in second, but Philpott will take the final podium position. Paul Crab in fourth place. Beauchamp lost a lot of time at the end there. Not too sure what happened to him. He was 2 seconds behind me at the start of that lap. He finished it substantially further behind. I'm not too sure if it is a bug on my timing screen, but it says 22 seconds. I think it might have been more like 17 seconds, but possibly running out of fuel at the end.
Yes.
Yep. Oh, he's miscalculated his fuel. He's very lucky that he had the gap on the drivers behind that he did. But yeah, he has run out of fuel and could have ended very badly for him.
Oh, the fireworks.
Oh, there goes fireworks in the background. That's awesome. But yeah, he's very lucky. He just about gets over the line. He had that massive gap from behind, which is why we like seeing drivers get big gaps by the end of the race, because it means if they have a mistake or if something like that happens and you run out of fuel, you've got a bit of a margin so that the driver behind you just doesn't swoop by on that final occasion. So good stuff all around for most of the drivers. Marco, they found it very difficult, and rightly so. Sebring in the dark and Radicals shouldn't be easy, but a lot of drivers finding it difficult. Only a few drivers making it to the end without some error.
I mean, this probably is going to be one of those races that the drivers, you know, love and hate. You look fondly because it's a challenge, because it's Sebring at night, but at the same time, it's Sebring at night with the Radicals here. And for a lot of these drivers getting towards the end of the season, a lot of big points and positions on the line. It was spectacular, it was tough, it was grueling. I don't think there can be... I mean, probably one of the toughest car, track, and setting, daytime setting combination on iRacing. The only thing that was missing, as I said again, was the rain. These drivers are very thankful that we are still into Season 4 of 2021 and not in the future, where supposedly, come the end of this season or the end of this year, the beta version of the rain is coming. Finally, everyone is home safe and sound, Dane. Therefore, we can give our lovely viewers the results of the race. And here we go.
Yeah, I'm so looking forward to rain. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait. One man that might not be able to wait, KK Ming. He's certainly on a hurry somewhere. 9.4 seconds he won this race by, and yet another win to his collection in this Radical Championship. He's absolutely dominated, and that will do him very nicely heading into the final round at Imola next week. Daniel Beauchamp in second, running out of fuel at the end. Bit of a hairy moment, but still managed to come in second place. Brad Philpott in third, held off Paul Crab for the longest time, it seemed. Crab left, right, and centre, could not find a way past. Finishes in fourth. Arturas Kundalis in fifth, just ahead of Aldous Puticlis. Marco Tolman wins the AM category, finishing in seventh overall. So a good haul of points there for the AM driver, finishing 10 seconds ahead of next AM competitor Graham Brown. So a very nice race from those two. John McCutchinson threw it all away in the pit stops, came into the pit lane in second place, just ahead of the second place finisher in this race, and unfortunately got a penalty of some kind. We don't know which penalty it was. Was it an unsafe pit entry or was it speeding in the pits? We don't know, but he finishes in ninth because of that. Did a good job of making his way up through the field. With a little bit of a comeback drive there as well. Rounding out the top 10 is third place in the AM category, Kev Copeland, who kept Seabass behind him for a very long time as well. Unfortunately, he could have been up a little bit further in the field, but he had that spin at sunset. Then Joseph Saul in 12th, Dean Powell in 13th, Mira Rasky in 14th, and Danny Lee, engine blown with 20 minutes left in the race, he was in 3rd position. So very unfortunate stuff for him. But he carried on. He went back out, did some laps, set the fastest lap of the race, in fact. So very good drive from Danny Lee. I wish he could have had a little bit more of an opportunity to show his pace up at the front of the field. Jack Reeve in 16th. He had a dreadful time out there, spinning a couple of times, getting taken out as well. So yeah, not the best round for him. Teammate Aaron Smith's round didn't go too much better either. Finishes 10 laps down. Not really finishing this race. Christian Engelhardt in 18th, Moritz Rogerton in 19th, and Mike Thurman with a clutch pedal failure at the start of the race, not deciding to continue after the massive penalty that he got for jumping at the start. So, there are your race results on the screen now. And Marco, we've got some drivers waiting to have a chat. And I think out of the drivers that we've got waiting, I'm going to have a chat with Daniel Beauchamp first. He finished in 2nd position in this race. Only just. He did run out of fuel at the end there. Could have ended much worse for him. But we will get to him now into the commentary booth. Now, he joined us for a chat after the race. 2nd place for you, Daniel Beauchamp. Welcome to the commentary booth. A bit of a hairy end to the race, I would say. Slight underfuel on your part at the pit stop?
Yeah, I was using a fuel calculator, and I think maybe my average fuel usage in the second half of the race was a bit more than the first half, so it was a little off, and I probably should have been a bit more safe with it. But I was coming into the pits with P1 and P2 right ahead of me, so I tried to be overly accurate about it, but that ended up hurting me at the end. Just lucky I had the big gap behind me.
Yeah, you absolutely did have a huge gap behind you. So starting off in the race, you started that race in 3rd position, then you lost the place to Bradley Philpott, I believe it was, right at the beginning. Then making your way back past him. Was that a straightforward pass? I don't think it's ever straightforward in the dark at Sebring in the Radical. It must be a very difficult place to try and make overtakes happen.
Yeah, it's not as bad as it looks. You get used to the darkness. And actually I realized once I jumped in the session today that it's a lot better when there's 10 other cars on the track and it's lit up a lot more. But the pass was unfortunately just because Bradley ran a bit wide at Tower. I think that's the name of the corner. And put his wheels on the dirt, so he'd lost a lot of speed. So it was quite easy to get past initially.
Then you spent the rest of the first stint of the race catching up to P1 and 2. It was John McCutcheon that you ended up catching up to first, and then diving down into the pit lane. Got a bit of a stroke of luck though, because I'm not sure which penalty he got, but it looks like he got a pit lane penalty, either from speeding or an unsafe pit entry. After that, what was your goal for the second half of the race? Was it to try and catch up to Kike Ming, or was it to try and keep the drivers behind you?
Initially, I just wanted to focus on keeping it consistent and staying in 2nd, but I was able to find a little bit of pace while I was just on my own, so I did start closing a gap, and I think the tires got difficult towards the end, and I like to think I'm reasonably good at avoiding mistakes on old tires. So I tried to profit from that as much as I could, and I did get a little closer, but ultimately it wasn't enough, and I did make a few mistakes myself on those old tires.
It did look very tricky for a lot of the drivers out there, especially nearing the end of the race. We saw a good few slides, especially heading into the hairpin at the in the middle of the circuit. I think it's turn 6. It looked really, really tricky out there. I certainly wouldn't want to be racing with the championship on the line in those conditions. But you did a fantastic job. 2nd place for you today. Heading into the final round of the season, it's at Imola. What are your thoughts on the circuit for the finale?
I'm pretty scared because I haven't done Imola before, so I'll have to get practicing. That's my thoughts.
Well, it's a fantastic circuit. I think it will do pretty well in terms of racing here in the Radical series as well. These cars do seem to love to race each other very closely. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on 2nd place. Good luck for your practice for Imola for the final round. But before we let you go, is there anyone you would like to give a shout out to on Apex Racing TV?
Yeah, I'd like to just shout out Kike. Really nice race, man. Definitely deserved the win. Had amazing pace and drove really consistently. Nice win.
That's great to hear. Well, Daniel, thanks for joining us. We will see you for the finale at Imola.
Thanks, guys.
Well, it was great to hear from second place finisher Daniel Beauchamp there for Team Goon Squad, the driver of the number 145. Marco, who have we got next? We've got a couple of drivers still waiting for chat.
Let's have a chat with Daniel Lee, who's with us right now. Daniel, welcome to the booth. First of all, big question, what happened to your engine?
No idea. They'll have to tell me somehow. Temperatures were fine. The rhythm was good. I wasn't pushing it too hard. It just decided to let go, shifting down to third, going into that 90 right-hander. The bottom end seemingly just dropped out from it underneath, which was a shame because we were actually doing all right. Beauchamp and Ming were inevitably going to start fighting at some point, it felt like, but as we found out later, that wasn't the case. They were always going to be apart with a little bit of an air gap. So just a blooming shame. And 2 minutes towing back to the pits pretty much means that it's over, innit? So just had to climb out the pits and enjoy the last 15 minutes.
It's interesting what you tell us, because of course when we go and watch the replay, when we go and see what happened, inevitably what we see and hear from our side is not what you directly hear yourself, but we noticed, Dane especially noticed straight away that the downshift sounded normal and not like, over revving or stuff like that. So we were a bit puzzled when that happened. So big shame, but forgetting that for a second, what a nice race you had all night long. How was it out there? Did you have fun battling this tough racetrack?
Sadly, despite having a good time lapping the track, it's a fun track to go round and round in. It was a shame that I found myself in pretty much an air gap sandwich. There was 4 seconds ahead and 4 seconds behind. Nobody making any big moves in front, so the pack wasn't coming towards me. I wasn't being chased really after a few laps of settling in. So although I enjoy the track, I enjoy the car, it wasn't exactly the most exciting or dynamic race out there. Besides the sprinkling of mechanical failure thrown in, which I think we can all agree we don't want to see again. It's sort of realistic that it just happens out of the blue, but no thanks. I think we would have rather have seen how that race was going to play out naturally. So good track, good car, but it didn't have the ingredients for a fun race like last week.
And in 1 week's time, it's time to call it a day on this championship from Imola. What are your expectations on that for that race?
I'm expecting it to be more interesting than it has been in the past with GTEs, because there's no ambiguity with a Radical. You are staying off those curbs. If you touch them, you're gonna feel it. So at least that means there's no hazy lines as to where you can and can't go. It's going to be pretty clear, and there's no risk involved when you steer clear of those sausage curbs, sharp chicane curbs. It's going to be a different challenge, but I enjoyed this championship for what I have been present for. So I'm looking forward to the last round, and it should be fun with the upstanding hard racing grid that we've currently got.
Thank you very much, Danny. Commiserations, of course, for the trouble you had during the race. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Just the grid for being decent racers. Didn't get to see as much of it this time, but I know they are. So hopefully we can carry that on to next week. And thanks to you guys for the broadcast and the league admin. Cheers, Marco.
Awesome. Thank you, Danny, and we'll catch you very, very soon next round.
Thank you very much.
Dane, now it's time to get one more, and I think you are standing by with Kev Copeland.
Yeah, let's get him in for a chat, and he joins us now. It is the one and only Kev Copeland. He finished 10th here today at Sebring in the dark. Kev, first of all, I wanted to ask you, what were the main challenges of racing Sebring in the Radical in the dark?
To be honest, Dane, the bumps. The bumps are the most difficult thing. The darkness didn't seem to cause me any issues. I was a bit concerned when I did some practice earlier in the week, and I got a bit of frame rate drop in the old VR. But actually tonight, with a full grid, it was absolutely fine. I didn't get any frame rate drop. or any of that stuff. So it was those bumps and those curbs, and just making sure that I didn't take too much of those curbs, because it's so stiff, the Radical, that it really upsets it if you take them.
Yeah, it definitely does. We saw that from a couple of drivers. And from you as well, I believe, at Sunset, not having the greatest time. That corner looked horrendous in the Radicals today. We saw so many people almost losing it, or just fully spinning it around through that corner. And it looked like the bumps on the inside, the closer you get to the wall, the bigger the bumps become. Some people were getting airtime over the bumps there. It looked like a real challenge.
Yeah, that narrow line on the apex there's a massive bump there, and it really upsets the car. But you have to kind of, well, I found my line that worked just kind of caught the edge of that. And that lap where I had my half spin there, I just lost a bit of concentration. That's all it was, and I missed my turning point, and I just wasn't going in the way that I expected. And I was really gutted, because I was having such a good race up to then, up in P9, and fighting with the lead AMs, trying to chase down Marco. But I'm so hot, I'm tired. But I have to say, thanks to Christian, who I had a massive mid-race battle with, until I think he must have lost it behind me, because he suddenly disappeared. And I'm trying to think who it was pushing me to the line, because somebody pushed me all the way to the end. Absolutely. And
Thomas.
It was Thomas, yes. He absolutely pushed me so hard, and I made just the odd little mistake here, and I'm like, I was saying to Joseph on the team radio, I was saying, if I make one tiny mistake here, he's got me. But it was so brilliant. It was really clean. He was faking the moves, and congrats to Thomas. It was great racing, and I'm really looking forward to watching that race back now.
You must also be looking forward to the final race of the season. Hopefully a lot more battles ahead at Imola. What are your thoughts on the circuit for the finale?
Yeah, I don't know. Imola's been a bit of a Marmite track for me, in that it's like sometimes I'll go really well there, and other times I'll just do terrible. So how it's going to be in the Radical, I don't know. As Daniel said earlier on, I need to watch those curbs, stay off those curbs, and it's quite a difficult track to do without hitting the curbs. So I am looking forward to it. I'm really disappointed I missed the race last week, because I think I would have been a little bit in a better position with the championship if I hadn't had to miss around. But yeah, looking forward to the last one. This league has been excellent, absolutely excellent. So I can't wait for next week now.
Neither can we up in the broadcast booth either. Well, Kev, thank you so much for joining us for a quick chat. Good luck for practice and for the final round at Imola. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Thanks to you guys in the commentary box and on the production. I love watching these streams back. And thanks to the wife for putting up with me practicing and racing every Wednesday night. So thank you very much, and catch you next week.
Too kind. You are too kind. Kev Copeland, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Always great to hear from Kev there. And Marco, that just about wraps everything up here for round number 5 of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship. Do you have any final thoughts before we head off for Italy, your home nation, of course, to Imola for the final round of the season?
Well, yes, and I think that these drivers will absolutely need this week's break to get ready for Imola. It's been a tough round. They need to get back used to the daytime, hopefully, where we will race on the Italian racetrack. And there is a lot of points still on the table, a lot of situations still to be solved in the standings. It's going to be a fantastic race, and Imola, another track, very unforgiving, not because of the bumps, but passing is difficult. As the guy said, you hit the curbs, you are in big trouble. There is basically no tarmac runoff in Imola, despite being a modern racetrack. So Variante Alta comes to mind. It's a place where with these cars you can really have a bad time if you don't learn your line perfectly in the week coming up to the race. So can't wait for the final race of the season. Of course, it's going to be next Wednesday at 7 GMT here on Apex Racing TV.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge for the drivers. I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say it's going to be a bit of a challenge. Definitely Variante Alta, as you said. It's going to be difficult because normally in a GT car, you will yeet it over those curbs, like massive sense. In the Radical, I don't think you'll be able to do that. The car is so stiff. You can see how it was handling the bumps here at Sebring. I don't think it will handle those curbs at Variante Alta either. So we'll have to wait and see what the drivers come up with. Some creative lines through that corner specifically. But I don't think myself nor Marco can wait for the final round of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship. We'll be back live on Apex Racing TV next Wednesday, the same time as always, 7 GMT, 8 PM UK time. Thank you everybody so much for spending your Wednesday evening with us. We hope you'll be back next week for the finale. But for now, for myself, Dane Baird, for Marco Barbanera alongside, for everybody on the circuit, and for everybody here at Apex Racing TV, we'd like to wish you a good night and happy racing.